Welcome to Heartful. I was just thinking about the situation that we find ourselves in with tenders in this country. And what I've actually realized is that the whole South African government is a tender because our departments, our state-owned entities, every service, every product is a tender. And I'll give you an example now. With the South African Police Service, we're soon going to find ourselves in a situation where the recruitment is a tender, the catering at the recruitment is a tender, the making of the uniform is a tender, the supply of water during training is a tender. Everything is a tender. And these tenders are not even designed to give us good services. These tenders are actually designed to feed the cadres. These tenders are not designed to actually get the services to us as the end users. They are designed to loot. Think about the South African Police Service. We are now dealing with the issue of a 360 million rand tender that was given to Ket Matlala, right? That whole tender is a health service that is provided to South African Police Service members. So everything at the South African Police Service is a tender. So the question you ask yourself is, what are all the office bearers doing on a daily basis? Because everything is outsourced. The 100 rand bottle of water is a tender. The stationery supply is a tender. Everything is the security at the police stations is a tender. Think about this. The South African Police Service gives out a tender to private security companies to provide security for police stations. The amount of tendering that is happening in the South African government is disgusting. Because if you were to suggest to the South African government that, you know what, let's privatize state-owned companies, let's privatize this, the pushback you will get will be so great, because when you talk about privatization with the aim of making the services better, their argument will be that no, you're trying to take back our state-owned companies back into white monopoly capital. While as we speak today, all the tenders that we know about at government agencies and all the government departments, they've privatized every service, include the services to provide tissue papers. So the government departments and government agencies, as we speak today, are paying somebody a service to buy tissue papers, 100 rand tissue papers. And I'm talking about one tissue roll that is not even two-ply. So think about it. Even when I think about something like the Department of Education, when I went to school, I went to a rural school. We bought our uniform at Jet and Pep and Edgar's and Sales House and those who were born in the 80s. Your parents literally went to the shops and bought uniform. But then when the tender system came in, we are now finding principals getting caught with the SGB members and conniving and in cahoots with somebody who's related to the principal who's printing the school uniforms. Now the price and the cost of school uniforms has skyrocketed from a normal pair of shorts for a grade 1 learner. It has gone so ridiculous. The price has ballooned because we have now introduced the idea of subcontracting every little service in our departments. So what has happened with the government is that everything is outsourced, and we're paying 10 times, 100 times the cost. And then every time you pay a price, it doesn't come for free. If you pay 100 rand for a tissue paper, somebody has to pay that 100 rand. Somebody has to pay for it. And it will always be the consumer. It's like the analogy of a chicken. You give our government taxes, we pay our taxes. That's like a full chicken, a live chicken. And they take that chicken and they strip it. One takes the drumstick, another one takes the breast. By the time it comes back to us in the form of services, it's just bones, just a shell. And another one that I was thinking about, and if you really think about the situation, you'll see where I'm going with this. Our government owns buildings. Let's call them government buildings. But what has happened in the past few decades is that our government will abandon a government building that is owned by them as the government, and they will put out a tender to supply leasing services for a new building. For example, the SETA, SETA, the SETA that's always in the news for wasteful expenditure and all the nonsense appointments that they make over there. SETA, their offices are at Waterfall City, a government agency that gets about 25 billion rand a year from the government, pays top rent rental rates for a building that is next to Waterfall Estate. And I can tell you now, the only reason why that office of SETA, SETA, is at Waterfall is because probably the CEO lives at Waterfall. So now we have all these government agencies that are paying ridiculous amounts of money for office space when they could be using government-owned offices, which they were built for that purpose so that they can save money. But they are paying ridiculous amounts of money on a monthly basis for rentals because it is outsourced to tenders. So if you summarize all of these tenders, and the worst part about these tenders also is the fact that they are not designed to make the services better. No, tenders are designed to give somebody an opportunity to loot, as opposed to if we talk about privatization, for example, of state-owned companies, the idea is to make them effective. But with the tenders, the idea is to make sure that they charge 100 times the price, but we get less than 1% of the value. That is just what I was thinking about today. I mean, think about ESCOM with the coal supply. I've read so many stories about the quality of the coal that these subcontractors give to ESCOM, where they are in cahoots and then with the security companies. We've got private security companies that are working with the coal supply companies, and they are busy manipulating the number of loads, manipulating the quality of the coal, manipulating all sorts of things. So at the end of the day, somebody has paid for a full load of high quality coal, but that truck was just empty. All those costs, all those tendering costs, they come down to us as the consumer. If you look at the price of electricity today, half of the cost, half of the increase that has happened with electricity is from all these tenders where we are paying ridiculous amounts of prices for the simplest of products. And I was just thinking, they've created an ecosystem within the government departments. You find a government department with 1,000 employees, but they've got 10,000 tenders and 10,000 service providers. You telling me that if you're a government department and you've got branches in every city in South Africa, you cannot buy your own tissue paper? Are you serious? You cannot buy your own tissue paper. You cannot buy enough water for all your meetings. You have to get a tender to supply you with tissues and stationery. I mean, we heard about a tender in the city of Joburg the other day where they were paying something like 200 rand for one pen that you can get for retail for like 12 rand. So all of these prices, and the question I always ask myself is, if you're a qualified accountant working in the finance department and you're making these payments, what you are doing is criminal. You're an accountant and you understand accounting ethics, and it is clear that it is not possible to pay 100 rand for a low quality roll of tissue, but you still make payment and you let that invoice go through. You are committing a crime because it's unethical. So the whole ecosystem they've created in the government departments is create a need for a tender, even if there's no need really. I mean, I can understand when you have maintenance, electrical, but there's got to be a limit. I mean, look at the whole city power system in Joburg and most municipalities. City power is a tender because ESCOM provides electricity. And then what is the purpose of city power? They've got a CEO, they've got offices, they've got managers, they've got regional managers. But the value that we are getting from city power is not tangible. And on top of that, city power issues tenders. So City Power has got the mandate to make sure that we get the distribution of electricity and the collect, not for all the municipalities, but with the municipalities, especially in Gauteng, where ESCOM provides the services directly. But where City Power does become the middleman, they're supposed to make sure that the distribution of electricity happens and they do all the maintenance and the fixing of problems. But you'll find that in the middle of that, they spend millions and billions to subcontractors and tenders for the same services. So you ask yourself, if you've got a whole structure of a company with a CEO and managers and regional managers and supervisors, what is their purpose if every little service is given out as a tender? So we find ourselves in a situation where our government is already big. We have so many departments with so many positions that are not giving us any proper services. On top of that, they give out tenders. I mean, there are municipalities that give out tenders for accounting. for auditing, but you find that they've got a finance department. So the tendering system is like an agency for employment. Government departments that are bloated on top of their budget hire companies that are not qualified to do services, to provide those services at 100 times the price. And that cost trickles down to all of us, and we end up paying high electricity costs. Our rates and taxes are ridiculous. So that's what I wanted to share today, because I was just thinking about it. The tender system in the South African government as we speak is ridiculous. It must be investigated. You cannot have a tender for everything. A tender for everything. So what is the point of the department then? What are we gonna do? Give a tender for teachers? Give a tender like everything is a tender? It cannot be. Anyway, enjoy the weekend. Until then, stay safe.